So, former Singaporean Minister George Yeo decided to share his opinions in an interview with the South China Morning Post. In this video, let's take a look at some of the things he said.
We are worried for America not because we are Americans. Hong Kong will prosper. There are certainly some who want to provoke China into war, if possible, because they think that if war with China is inevitable, then better to have it earlier.
Sorry, Mr. Yeo. There are no changes in the US foreign policy.
We are not looking for conflict or a new Cold War. To the contrary, we're determined to avoid both. We don't seek to block China from its role as a major power, nor to stop China, or any other country for that matter, from growing their economy or advancing the interests of their people.
China feels that it knows that it's getting stronger relative to the US.
Mr. Yeo, are you referring to the economy or the military?
Time is on its side. So it should not fight now if it can fight later. And it may not be necessary to fight later because by that time it will be strong enough to prevent a war from happening. So China's objective should be to play for time.
In the context of a shrinking workforce and negative net migration rate, 10 years down the road, China would also have to deal with Australian nuclear-powered submarines in the South China Sea.
Many Americans think that when China becomes strong, it will behave like an imperial power. So while China may be a rational player,
Based on your feelings?
but I'm Chinese, which means that I have an affection, an emotional connection to a civilization.
Mr. Yeo, 中华民国 is also part of the same civilization.
Ethnic Chinese in America, they could have been US citizens for decades. They are now under surveillance by the FBI.
Maybe that's because there's a ton of Chinese spies? Meanwhile, the Chinese government monitors Chinese locally and globally.
If the US were to fight China over Taiwan, I think Singapore will not support the US at all.
Mr. Yeo, are you suggesting we kick US logistics group Western Pacific out of Singapore? I'm sure our economy would do fine after we did that.
But if China were to turn mad and started aggressing its neighbors, especially ASEAN neighbors, then I think Singapore will have to take the side of ASEAN. A strong ASEAN that includes Vietnam, that includes Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, and behind which we can hide. I was frankly quite disgusted at the way the Western media were lionizing the violence. So it was sickening.
Mr. Yeo, Al Jazeera isn't a Western media.
But I know that many of the people I know, work with, my friends, are not happy. Some have left Hong Kong. Many are still sullen.
I wonder why.
It feels less international. It will remain an international city. It will remain an international financial center. Bruh. Now, I've seen it before. It's not different. It's not as bad as 1989.
Mr. Yeo, in 1989, people didn't have mobile phones.
The level of trust by ordinary Hong Kongers in the government is low.
And what could possibly be the reason? Some of the interviewers' statements were also highly misinformed.
With the Ukraine war, I mean, it's been going on for months now, and the rhetoric has become very, very dangerous. There are two countries threatening to nuke each other.
No. Russia has threatened to use nukes, but the United States' response was vague.
The country that is vilified by the West and the US so much, which is China, is the only country that's talking about peace.
Actions speak louder than words.
But civilizations, we're talking about a Chinese civilization, which is thousands of years old.
Ancient China, yes. The People's Republic of China was established in 1949.
Getting really tough on China. What's the end game? This is a nuclear power.
We will defend and strengthen the international law, agreements, principles, and institutions that maintain peace and security.
Isn't that exactly what's happening with the US? Inside, if you look at it, it's almost, people almost talk about civil war there. And then you look at the homeless problem, poverty, the inequality. They have a lot of mess to deal with there. So rather than deal with that, let's head out into the world and start attacking people.
Did you even look at the US government spending? By people, do you mean terrorists?
And you also mentioned the slightly xenophobic elements of the US versus China confrontation.
Did you even look at the US immigration statistics?
If you come from Africa country, you can't go in our building.
Why can't we go in?
他就问他们为什么不能进？
抱歉，我们这边那个也是街道部门，我们这边现在是接待不了外国人。
刚刚说了，他说老板不让外国人进。